Hi, welcome to Times of Israel's What Matters Now. It's a weekly podcast focusing on what matters to Israel right now. I'm here today with Dani Syrkin, the director of Tehran, the award-winning TV series fictionalizing the work of an Israeli Mossad agent, Tamar Rabinyan. In Tehran, a show on Apple Plus, a show that we're all very, very familiar with. But first, hi, Daniel, welcome. How are you?
Fine, fine. Thank you for having me. I'm okay. These are challenging times, as they say, but they
Yeah,
are
we smile
actually.
and we don't really feel like the smile is makes sense, but we're doing it anyway, sort of,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's surreal. It's like in COVID time, but now we have ballistic missiles flying at us rather than invisible germs.
Yes, that might be the best description I've heard so far. Okay, and you're speaking from your home
In Herzliya,
in
Herzliya.
Herzliya,
Yeah,
right?
which like a few missiles fell in Herzliya, so we know we're not absolutely safe here as well.
I often say that if we can only do one thing well, what we need to do is to delight the customer. Our goal is that everything we do falls into the background and the customer has the experience of, wow, that was easy. And our challenge and what has made it most interesting along the way is to keep finding ways to deliver the personal connection and the personalized service in a virtual world. We consistently get feedback unsolicited from customers along the lines of, this is the best company that I've ever worked with. At the end of the day, it's the care that each member of the team takes that makes the entire experience what it is.
Let me give a little bit of background of you just so that people know what you've done in addition to Tehran. So, born in Moscow, immigrated to Israel with your family as a baby, went to Tel Aviv University Film School. You're also known for, I'm mentioning shows that I know that our listeners probably have seen, Hamid Rasha, The Gordon Cell. And of course, Tehran is just, I think about it all the time because I feel like it occupies my brain because it in a sense is it the precursor or is it the how do you define it at this point
I
given
don't know.
how
It's
many
funny.
seasons you've done?
Listen, I got to tell you, talking about occupying my brain. So half my brain is in Tehran right now, and the other half is in Tehran as well, because I'm finding myself in this crazy situation when I'm reading what we plan to do for season four. God willing, it will come out or we will shoot it, and then my other eye goes to the news and all of that. So I'm Tehran full board across the board, and wow, it's crazy. Yeah, I need some respite from Tehran.
Yeah, I would say so. Danny, is it okay if I call you Danny?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Danny, we spoke back in late 2024, and you had delayed season three, obviously because of October 7th, and then the trauma and the mess and dealing with all of that. And then of course when we spoke then, it had been, I believe, after I guess one round of missiles from Iran, nothing like what we're dealing with now. I mean, it was a drop in the bucket. And at the time you said, okay, we're kind of waiting to see, and you knew that viewers were waiting for it. Tell me again why you waited at the time to show it. What was your thinking?
So, first of all, we had season three, which was shown in Israel, but still was not shown internationally. It's supposed to be shown very soon. I think that everybody were a bit nervous. Also, not only Apple, who owns the show. It's an Apple and the Cannes Israeli Cannes show, but also Cannes were a little bit reluctant or hesitant about showing it at that time, close to the war and all of that. And eventually, it took Cannes a long time to show it, and we're happy that Apple also have plans to show it, real fast. So, but I think that geopolitics was very scary, and a lot of
Still is.
stuff still is, and a lot of the things that we wrote in what we planned to be season 4 were very triggering because we planned the season 4 that with the even before October 7th, we had a very bloody opening episode for season 4 with missiles flying on Tel Aviv, hitting and killing dozens of people, and our protagonist in the middle of it. And everybody got a bit scared of that. So somehow we
Felt
didn't
too
get
real.
it felt too real, even though before October 7th, everybody told us, wow, that's great, that's great. Do you think it can happen? We said, we don't know. and then when they read it again, all of them, they said, no, we can't do it. I mean, both Israelis and Americans. So we had to go back to the drawing board and think of another fourth season. And we're actually in a strange, that's living in Israel. And also, we were supposed to go to scout Athens for season 4, October 9th, 2023. And we were supposed to go scout Athens for season 4 this Monday. and again,
No.
and again, we're not going. And hopefully now it will not
Well,
take
now it's
more
very
years.
hard to get out of this country, right?
It
As we
is.
were
It is.
discussing beforehand.
It is, yeah. And but now, I mean, if I can be just like let's say strictly think about my series, I mean, now it's the best time to air Tehran and to shoot Tehran and all of that because
Talk a
Tehran
little
is
bit
that.
about that. I mean, on one hand, yes, yeah, I understand what you're saying. On the other hand, it seems kind of crazy to, art imitating reality, reality imitating art. It's not just that. It's war and it's missiles falling on the cities and buildings and people, and it's very, very real and scary.
Yeah, yeah, it is very scary. And some of the people that we work with and that work in Tehran with us well, weren't hit or wounded, but lost a lot of their property, apartments. One of our writers, our producer, Shula, also during
So they're in hotels, right?
so there are some in hotels, some are back home, but some are injured. So it hits close to home, really close to home. Uh, and and so so as I said, we just all the time. It's strange. All the time. On one hand, there's this existential threat. When you go to the bomb shelter, it's like roulette because those missiles are huge, and that's how I think all of us feel. I mean, it might hit us, it might not hit us. Do I hear a bomb? Do I not hear a bomb? And then going back to work and to the PC, I think, or to my Mac, I think, what can we do? What will happen? What are the strategies of rewriting the season so it's not stupid, so it fits reality, so and I must say that we always, I mean, there are some things, as long as this regime stands, that are always the same.
Mm,
And that for us are always like, we know these are our anchors. We know that the regime is always deceiving the West. Doesn't matter
right.
what they sign. And if I'm guessing, if there will be a treatment, not like peace treaty or whatever, I don't know, peace talks. Eventually,
Ceasefire.
a
Yeah.
ceasefire. Eventually, if this regime decides, if this regime stays, they will for sure deceive the West and think of how to obtain again dominance because it's a revolutionary regime, and their idea is to export the revolution. That's their one of their like. That's
Their raison d'etre.
exactly that's
That's what
their
they,
result. That
yeah.
exactly, and the other thing is, I think they will always try to get a nuclear weapon. If this program is eliminated, they will be looking for another program or another way to get it,
To obtain it.
to obtain it. And the third, and I think the most important and interesting thing, is the oppression of the population. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a regime that it's not a government by the people. It's a government that oppresses the people. And hence I think we always play with it and a little bit with this idea of what can be created, how can we deal with Iranian, unfortunately not really existent true opposition, but there's a lot of um, undercurrents in Iran. A lot, millions of people oppose the regime, but the regime has been extremely effective in killing, arresting, and stymieing any attempt to do anything against them. So for us, I would say these are our topics, which are always relevant. So unless, let's
Danny,
say, yeah,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, Danny, I wanted to know, just go back a little bit. I mean, it seems like ancient history, I know, because you've been engaged in this
Yeah.
series for so long. But
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how you got into this, how you came to direct Tehran, and like when you actually started gaining and understanding so much about this regime.
So I was for many years in military intelligence, and I knew stuff about Iran only from this perspective, as most Israelis from newspapers, and I saw them as enemies. I did have a knack for Iranian cinema always. So in my youth, I used to
You always
watch
liked it.
Mahsan. Yeah, I loved it, and I thought there was something really interesting about it, and something that really touched my soul. And when Dana Eden, the producer and the creator of the show, she came to me. They had a rough first episode, and I joined in, and I became a co-creator. And then, we just started a big, intensive research, and I brought a lot of my buddies from the army to help us and to make some sense and then we started discovering this amazing world of Iran, this universe of on one hand this deep culture, this amazing talented people, all of that, and then of course this brutal regime, and so yeah, I can say we became some sort of experts on Iran. We
It's
understand now.
strange. I must feel a
It
little
is.
strange.
Yeah, yeah, and also I learned some Farsi, which is also strange because now when I watch them on TV, I understand some of what what they're
Wow.
saying, which is always strange to me. That I say, oh, I actually understood what this guy said. Crazy.
Right.
So yeah, that's
To
nice.
pick that up.
Uh, yeah, so that's I mean, me and the entire team, and of course our art director Yoel Ellsberg became a big expert on how Tehran looks, how the street, you know
Right.
how to
How to
construct the
design it.
whole Iranian street, to design an Iranian street, all of that. And we have many, many experts who are genuinely Iranian because we've been shooting it in Tehran, not Tehran, in Athens,
In
because
Athens.
for obvious reasons we can't shoot it in Tehran.
Right.
And we really wanted to recreate Tehran in Athens. So fortunately for us, there were many refugees, many Shiite, real Iranian refugees, just fresh from the
Wow.
boat that escaped the regime, and they joined us and became our close friends for a few seasons. So we have in the art department, in the wardrobe department, we have people who are truly Iranians who tell us how to tie the thing and how to, and check the spelling on all the street signs, all of that, and say, and even bake cookies,
That you would
that look
eat.
like Iranian,
Yeah.
that you would eat and that look like true Iranian cookies, truly. So for us, it's really, really important to to create this illusion that we are really in Tehran. And what's really interesting also for me is I'm watching a lot of those films, videos on your news coming from Tehran. And to me, it reminds me of Athens because it's a really similar architecture. And all the time when we call each other, say, yeah, that really looks like Athens. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
We did a good
Are
job.
you guys you're all WhatsApping each other as you're
Of
watching
course,
it
of course,
unfold?
of course, all day long we are, and again, it's surreal because we are targeted by them, but our heart, in a way, is there, and I'm getting like amazing emotional emails and messages on my social media from Iranians and
Still?
from
Still now?
yeah, and mostly from actors that were in our show,
Wow.
and and
What are they saying?
so it's very, I'll tell you, it's a mixed message. They're very sad and worried about Iran. They don't like to see Iran under attack. They don't like to see, some of them lost relatives. But they're also very concerned and worried about us, which is amazing. So they tell me, one actress called me and said, listen, I lost two relatives in Israeli bombings, but I care about you and I hope that you and your family are safe and I wish for peace and all of that. So you understand the psychological, I mean, what's going on in the regular Iranians, even like the one who doesn't live in Iran and doesn't like the regime, their country is
Who
under attack.
left? Who left because
Left,
of, yeah.
left, usually because of repression, usually because of, you know, and even those people, they don't like to see their country being bombed and humiliated, even though they understand that it's a regime. And I can tell you that the Abbey, who's I would say the greatest Iranian singer who is in exile, Ebi.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
put on his social media a big map of Iran with a bleeding heart, and I was a little bit disappointed because Ebi is a big critic of the regime. But then when I went into what he wrote in his post, he said Iranian people rise up against the regime.
Right.
So
But you have to go into the post to see that.
right, so his heart is
Right.
bleeding, but he really wants the people to get rid of the regime, and I think all of us feel that way. You
Right.
see, I became a
You
little bit Iranian. I said all of us as if I'm.
With Operation Rising Lion in full force, the moment to act is now. Your investment sends a clear message. Israel is not alone. Go to israelbonds.com or scan the on-screen QR code to invest in Israel bonds now.
So you guys got a major compliment from Thomas Friedman from the New York Times on June 13th, on the day that Israel attacked in that preliminary series of attacks. So let me just read it. How is Israeli intelligence on Iran so good that it pinpointed the locations of and killed its two top military leaders, not to mention a number of other senior officers? Blah, blah, blah. If you want to know their real secret, watch the streaming series Tehran on Apple TV+. This is still the Thomas Friedman quote. It fictionalizes the work of an Israeli Mossad agent in Tehran. What you learn from that series, writes Friedman, which is also true in real life, is how many Iranian officials are ready to work for Israel because of how much they hate their own government. This clearly makes it relatively easy for Israel to recruit agents in the Iranian government and military at the highest levels, end quote. Thoughts? Reactions?
That's really moving and touching and interesting to get it from Thomas Friedman, especially from the New York Times, who became like an overtly anti-Israel newspaper to my taste, reading it. But what can I say? That from time to time they get it right. That's that's what I can say. But no, truly, I think it's a big compliment from Thomas Friedman. And listen, we did our homework. We really try. We want it to feel real, and we want it to be still engaging and still entertaining. But also, James Comey, who was head of the FBI,
Yes, head of the
he
FBI,
also
yeah.
said in an interview, that
Right.
he's watching Tehran now and enjoying it, and he is enjoying the reality of it. So, for for me as a director and co-creator, it's amazing words. And yeah, I think we try to. What we do is very simple. We read the newspapers, and then we start to imagine what else can go wrong, what would be more dramatic, and then it happens. Then
Right.
it just
Right.
happens.
I
Yeah.
mean, look at June 13th. I mean, were you, as you watched it unfold in the headlines, were you surprised by any of it?
I was surprised. I knew it's gonna happen. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that I knew that we don't have a choice. I knew that.
At some point,
I felt
or
that
in
we
the
don't have a
last
choice.
20 months.
I think in the last 20 months, and I think that especially after there were rumors that this corridor clean of anti-aircraft fire is open, it was kind of evident that Israel will do it. But as you know, somebody who has been doing a series about Mossad, I was absolutely shocked by their new abilities there. This I must say, I was shocked. I mean, we knew that they were great, but we thought that they received some blows, but it turns out that they were and still are stronger than ever. And I think that if when we do a season 4, this will have to be reflected. It can't be
You'll have
this
to be
girl.
from this point.
A little bit, yeah. From this point, it can't be the little Tamar alone. We will need to understand that Tamar is a
Right.
part of a huge machine, because when you see just like Mossad soldiers in full uniform
Right.
shooting missiles, you say, "Oh, that's a totally different game."
Right. 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 I mean, I guess just as we head toward wrapping this up, Donnie, do you actually, I mean, I know that you are working or planning on working on season 4, and I
Yeah,
imagine you've already done a lot of work on it.
yeah,
But at this point in time, as we sit here, as the U.S. attacked Iran last
yeah,
night, Saturday
yeah.
night, and we don't really know here in Israel what's going to be next,
Yes.
can you still put your mind to this artistic endeavor, to still
So,
working on this show?
I have to. I have to. That's the only way I can cope with it. I have to. And I have those scenarios. One scenario is what happens if the regime falls. What for me, that's my escape. My escape is just thinking about the show. What will we do with the show? If the regime falls, what will we do with the season?
Meaning
If
if
it
the
doesn't
regime
fall,
falls in real life.
if the regime
If
falls in real
Khamenei,
life, how do we address it in the season? I mean, we can't, let's say the regime falls, I don't know, God willing, next week, and we have to be up to date. We can't do a show
right, right,
that does
right.
not at least predict it or say something about it. If it does not fall, what will be the outcome of it? And all of that is all the time in my mind, in our mind. So all the time, we have British writers in those last two seasons, so which is
Right.
also interesting. We brought
What are
in
they
those.
saying these days? What are
So there,
how
I
are
mean, it's crazy. I mean, there are two, super nice, talented, English gentlemen who are being drawn into our conflict, and we talk to them all the time, which is also very interesting.
okay. So I guess if you had your druthers, and without obviously going into season 4 at all, but if you had to say right now, what are some of the things you'd want to be able to show in upcoming seasons, let's say?
Well, if the
What would you
regime does
say?
not fall, I think if the regime doesn't fall, I think that we would really like to talk about the opposition or how the Iranian people is really being maltreated and not very good at maybe organizing a real opposition, a real uprising. I think that for us is very interesting because the tragedy is just there all the time because we read the outlets and especially of the exiled Iranians and we see the executions, we see the arrests. Only last year, 10,000 young people were arrested or executed because they are the driving force, right? So we have to discuss that. We have to show that, and so of
It's your
course
responsibility.
it is in a way. It is, yeah. I think that Tehran has a little bit of an added value because we are talking about an oppressive regime, and also I gotta say that as Israelis we have a lot of criticism also about Israel, and we're not portraying always Mossad as the best
Right.
organization or the
True.
most humane organization, and I think this will continue, and we will keep on putting Tamar in the vice between stressed by Mossad's desires to be the best soldier and her wishes, her soul wants
A
to be Iranian, love
personal,
the Iranian people, yeah.
right.
So those will be always our key themes, and I think that whatever outcome we will see from this conflict, I think these will stay, these will remain. Unless, of course, the regime falls, and then we can make a beautiful historical season about how the regime, how Israel and America finished
And then
this
that's it.
oppressive
That's it for
regime.
Tehran. That's it for the show.
Yeah, but we'll do other shows.
You'll do other shows. I'm not worried about you.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. When we spoke about, I don't know, a few months ago, you told me not just about actors on the show, Iranian actors or Iranian crew, but people, viewers, Iranian viewers on social media would reach out to you. And I'm
They did.
curious if
It's true.
that's still happening now.
This didn't happen, unfortunately. This didn't
Yeah,
happen now. No. The
too
actors,
hard.
almost all of them, yeah, almost all of them reached out. And also the internet is shut down now in Iran.
Right,
It
that's
was
true.
up for like maybe 4 or 6 hours in the last week. So they don't have a lot of chance to do that. And also, I think that in the last year, there was a lot of oppression, repression, and I think people are not as brave as they used to be just to write on Instagram even.
Hard to be brave. Hard to be brave.
Very hard, very hard. It's hard for us, for people from the West, from democracies, to understand it, but it's very hard. And they need to be super brave just to write to us.
Right. No, of course. Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I'm sort of hoping that we'll find our way out of this and someday you'll get to Tehran.
It's my dream. Truly, it's my dream. I know Tehran so well. You know neighborhoods. It's interesting. They're bombing Lavasan. They're bombing Niavaran. They're bombing like neighborhoods that
Names that
that
come
we
off the
know
tip of your tongue.
that
Right.
come off. Yeah, yeah, and wow. Also, You know, those guys that Mossad and Air Force assassinated. I know all of them because we did the research about who they are. You know, Salami and the
Wow.
Bakri, all of them. Yeah, so we know who they are. We've been following them because we're interested.
You
We
recognize their
want to back
faces, you know their
Yeah,
stories.
yeah, yeah. Of course, of course.
Very strange feeling
Very,
to
very,
be
very. Yeah.
on this part of the story. And
Yes.
they're obviously it's a very real story, but for you it's been fictionalized.
It has
Very
been,
bizarre.
and we've been bold in our previous seasons because in the end of season 2 we assassinated the head of the IRGC, which for us felt
Right.
very bold, and now Israel did it. In the end of season 3, we showed that Mossad is launching suicide drones from within Iran. Israel did it. So so we've been kind of looking at stuff, imagining and getting it right, just look like Thomas Friedman this time.
All right. I guess we'll check in with you in about 6 months and see what's happening with the show and with you and with all of it.
Please do. I really hope that Iran will be free and that we will all go again as we were brothers with the Iranian people.
A long time ago, right?
Yeah.
The shot fell. Yep. Daniel Syrkin, thank you very much for being on What Matters Now.
Thank you, Jessica. It was a pleasure.
And thanks to you for listening to the Times Visuals. What Matters Now will be back again tomorrow with another installment. This episode is produced by the Podwaves and video edited by Thomas Gersh. Any comments you have, you can always drop us an email, podcast@timesvisual.com. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Take care and be well.